Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. The woman behind the desk could have been any woman in any gym in any city in any world. She was unremarkable, but her face might have had a hint of light beauty, which was enough to catch someone's eye for a moment, but not enough to keep it. Her brown hair was pulled back into a ponytail, and she was wearing the black and red polo shirt that all employees of this popular chain of gyms wear. As he walked into the room, she smiled and ran his membership card through the reader behind the desk. He was one of the people she had been waiting for, and when she gave him back his card, she said very loudly, "Let your inner femininity hypnotize you." As soon as he had the card in his hand, the man started to walk away. He turned around and said, "I'm sorry." When she looked up again, she smiled innocently and said, "I said, have a good workout, sir." He stopped. "Oh." He gave a small shake of his head and turned back toward the locker room. Alex walked out of the locker room with a small grimace because it smelled like sweat and had a layer of it. He told himself to tell the girl about it on the way out. Then he thought, somewhat amused as he caught a whiff of his gray t-shirt, "I'm not exactly smelling like spring myself. I should probably just think of the smell as something that comes with being in a gym." As he got closer to the main exercise area, he was happy to see that one of the treadmills were empty. He thought, "You've got to love Friday nights. Everyone else is out having fun, so I can go for a nice 40-minute jog without having to wait the same amount of time for the treadmills to become free." He took his phone out of the pocket of his light blue workout sweats. He put headphones on his head and got on the treadmill. The girl at the desk whispered, "Coblum," and laughed. Alex put in the usual information, workout length, weight, and incline, and hit the start button on the treadmill. The girl smiled because her work was done. She stepped out from behind the desk, walked out the door, turned a corner, and vanished. None of the other employees noticed when she left, just as they hadn't noticed when she came or when she was there. Alex was getting really into the music on his phone. It changed to something he hadn't listened to before, something hypnotic. He looked up, and when he did, he saw himself in the mirror. He stumbled because he was shocked for a moment. Scared, he tried to flail his arms, stop running, reach out and touch the keyboard, or do anything other than the rhythmic tapping of his feet on the rubber of the treadmill's belt, the swinging of his arms forward and back, and keeping his head up and looking straight ahead. It didn't matter. What he had seen became a lot less important all of a sudden. His body wouldn't do what his mind told it to do. Even though his mind was tense, his muscles weren't. They just kept doing the same actions over and over, back and forth, relaxed but working hard. Alex almost fell because, well, he looked like he was wearing a blonde wig, a woman's wig, Alex thought to himself. But it wasn't a wig because he could feel his own hair moving along with the blonde hair. He thought that idea was crazy. Some part of his mind snapped back, "This isn't crazy yet, is it? You already have hair down to your shoulders." He watched in horror as the sleeves of his t-shirt crawled up and turned into two straps, and the front and back of the neckline moved a little bit down. When he opened his eyes again, he saw that it was now a sleeveless t-shirt for men. His workout pants had the same start. As it went up his legs, the light fabric made a soft rustling sound and turned into a pair of comfortable dark blue shorts. Alex's eyes moved down to his legs, which were now visible and still moving him forward. They looked a lot like pink. Alex looked at them more closely and saw that they were so pale because the few light brown hairs that usually made them look darker were gone. They also looked a little bit different. The calves were tighter and the thighs were slimmer and tighter. He had no hair, his clothes were tighter, and he would have shaken his head if he could have. If he hadn't been worried in the back of his mind, he might have said they looked more compact and tight. When he turned his attention back up after a short break, he was so surprised that he almost let out a gasp. The t-shirt kept getting different. The t-shirt no longer hung loosely around his middle. Instead, it fit like a second skin. The bottom was now an elastic band instead of a simple hem, and the t-shirt was getting shorter as it moved up from his waist. The neckline moved as if it wanted to meet its friend in the middle. It stopped, but, oh no, thought Alex as he began to understand what was really going on. For it was now clear that he was wearing a workout top for women, the kind that covered a lot of women's torsos. The skin that was showing was very different from what Alex was used to seeing on his torso. The torso seemed to narrow a bit, but a light six-pack could be seen. Alex remembered that the shoulders were narrower and that there were a few black hairs here and there on the skin of the arms, chest, and stomach. Now, none of these places had hair. The hair stopped falling at the middle of Alex's back and seemed to have formed itself into a ponytail, which was slapping Alex's mostly bare back in a rhythm. Now, Alex did trip for a few steps when he felt a sharp pain in his waist and hips. He heard a crunch as his pelvic bone moved inside his body and his hip bones flared out, making them stand out more. The pain went away faster than it should have, leaving Alex with psychic aftershocks when he saw the shorts, which were now made of body-hugging spandex and held tight to his hips. This was accompanied by one of the strangest feelings Alex had ever had, a sort of vacuum pop inward, along with a splitting feeling between his legs that was at first hard to notice and then obvious. After that, he felt something in his chest that was almost like electricity. His chest felt very sensitive, but in a way that sent chills up his spine without him even realizing it. As if he were getting fatter, he saw small bumps start to form on his skin. They slowly filled in and pushed against the fabric of the shirt he was wearing. With everything going on and his attention on himself, Alex could have been forgiven for not noticing that the world around him had grown a lot taller. Alex would have been able to look the man next to him in the eye at the start of his workout, but by the end, he would have had to tilt his head up quite a bit to do so. The man's eyes were about 6 feet off the ground, which was about 9 inches taller than Alex's 5'3" frame, and the frozen state broke. And Alex's mind did too. But as the darkness faded, the facts in his head quietly got back in order. When she opened her eyes, she seemed to be surrounded by a lot of people, mostly men, but also a few women. A few hands reached out, and she was helped to her feet in a gentle way. The guy who was working out next to her asked, "Are you okay?" with a worried look on his face. Alexi looked at his face, and for a change, she was really flabbergasted by how pretty he looked. Beautiful eyes, honest, open. "Yeah," she said, as she brushed a long strand of blonde hair that must have gotten out of her ponytail out of her eyes. "That'll teach me not to drink enough water before working out," she told the crowd. Most of them gave her sarcastic smiles and went back to their workouts, but the cute guy stayed, which made her happy. "You look pretty tired," he told her. She was happy. "Most of the time, my job gives me enough aerobic exercise," she said. "I meet a lot of weird people, but you don't seem like one of them. Want to go grab a drink after our workout?" "I'd love to," he said with a smile. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.